So my name is Nyle. As she said, I'm an occupational therapist, and I specialize in something called fascia. And if you don't know what fascia is, it is basically the thing that connects us on the inside of our bodies. It's been really interesting to be a fascial therapist in kind of this new world that we seem to be in here, where so many of us are practicing our occupations at home. In fact, you can probably even hear my cat meowing in the background, like she wants to come in and join me. And it's kind of cool to get really personal with my patients lately, because typically the way my sessions look in the past is people come to see me when they're in chronic pain, and they've kind of gone through the more traditional medical system and come out the other side with these ambiguous diagnoses like fibromyalgia and autoimmune diseases. But underneath it all, they're just in pain. And when they come to me, they're there for 55 minutes of pain relief, and we do all hands-on manual therapy. Now, that has been something that's really, I think, been taken away in the past year or so, is this ability to go see somebody and have them put their hands on you to heal them or fix them. And a lot of us have had to become our own healers and therapists in a lot of ways in this past year. And the ability to connect with someone to help us, it's all become very virtual. So as a result, I've been treating a lot more computer-related strain and injuries than ever before. So I've been a manual occupational therapist for over a decade, and I would have to say I'm treating more chronic neck pain and shoulder pain and migraines in this past year than I have even from, I would say, even from back when the iPhone was invented, and which, you know, I'm not actually that old. The iPhone is not that old either. I think it came out in something like 2007. So when we ended up with those mobile devices that were basically walking computers, we started to see a lot more what we refer to as tech neck, which really is just computer related strain, or CRS. What computer related strain is it's when the front of the body, the sternocleidomastoid, this V-shaped muscle in the front here, ends up having to become a weight-bearing muscle. And that muscle is not designed to take the weight of your head. It's designed to turn the head. So now over time, we end up creating this forward neck posture. And in order to compensate for the weakness in the sternocleidomastoid, the back of the neck will start to thicken. And that thickening of the tissue in the back of the neck will then start to close down the fascia, or the connective tissue in surrounding structures in through the arms. And then next thing you know, you have tingling and numbness in the digits. And that's carpal tunnel, what we refer to as carpal tunnel. Now, really, I'm a very holistic therapist. So these are all just words to me. The labels, the words, the diagnoses, they're really great for validating what we're all experiencing. But at the end of the day, what we are experiencing is a change in our posture that our bodies are not naturally designed to support. And our bodies are very intelligently designed to keep us as functional as possible. But we're at a point, I think, where we really need help. And that's where I come in. I'm really interested in reaching therapists and doctors who have had to convert their practice to a more telehealth environment when they're not used to doing so. People who do have desk jobs, they already know all the things, right? They have all the tools, they know the proper posture. They probably had an ergonomic assessment at work, but we're in an age where people who have not gotten used to that way of that type of occupation, so to speak, they're now being forced to work in a way that's not natural for them. And honestly, even individuals who are used to working at a computer, they're used to doing so in a different setting. And that's what's been so interesting in this past year. I think the reason I'm seeing so many more of these strain patterns is not just because we have people who are used to being out in the field now sitting behind desks, I think it's also because people who are used to sitting at desks are doing so in an unnatural habitat. Working from home is not natural. It may be easier in a lot of ways, but it's not natural for our nervous systems. Our nervous systems are used to getting external cues as to when we should get up and move, and we don't have those anymore. So that's what I want to talk about today, and that's what I'm here to teach you to do, is to start to build in natural movement into your what is now your new normal and could be your new normal going forward. We don't know, even if we reach a point where you can go back to working in the office, we don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case for everyone. And now that doctors know that they don't have to see as many patients in office, we're going to be doing a lot more telehealth. So the tips that I'm going to give you now, I think, are incredibly valuable moving forward in this new age of sitting behind a screen in your home. Okay. So the first tip I want to give you, I think, is a general tip that could really save that tech neck, the neck and the body in general, which is try to sit closer to the screen. All right. And the reason for that, it may not be great for your eyes, but it's really good for your body. When we sit with the screen closer to us, it forces us to sit back in our center, or I like to call it the divine line, but that's just how I roll. But it's the center in which you operate from, and you operate best from. When you're at your center, you have more access to more of you. So move the screen closer to you. If you have a laptop, if you're mobile and you're working on a laptop, you want to tilt the screen of the laptop back a little bit and move the entire laptop closer to you. So the keyboard will be right here, right up against your body, and the screen will be tilted back so that you'll be able to kind of look at it more close up without having to look down so much. At the end of the day, a laptop is not the best arrangement. It is better to get a detachable keyboard and have the laptop up higher so that you can be parallel to it. But if that's not an option, the best option is to tilt the screen. The other thing that, the other biggest habit that I see people do that is not conducive to good body mechanics is they don't sit with their feet on the floor. Now, I'm saying that as I'm currently sitting cross-legged, but I'm also not interacting with the screen, in a prolonged period of time. So if you're sitting at your desk and you're typing, and if you're doing so right now, I invite you to put both feet flat on the floor and just feel how that shifts things in your pelvis. And when your pelvis is even and aligned, thank you. I watched some of you do that. That's great. As your pelvis is more aligned, your entire body will stack up differently on your base of support. So one of the hacks that you can do to make sure that you're doing that more often is you can put a stool on the floor and put your feet on that stool. You want your feet to have contact with the floor at all times. If the height of the seat is too high, get a stool if you can't lower the seat. You can also put little fun, like tactile fidgets and things on the floor or on a stool and sit barefoot. I don't know if you do that. I'm clearly have a pediatric background. I do that all the time. But that's a really great way to incentivize you to keep the feet flat. Another thing that I want to encourage you to start doing, if you're not doing already, is taking breaks. Now, I know what you're going to say. I already take movement breaks. You have your Apple Watch set for every, half an hour, something like that. And what I'm going to ask you is, how many times do you silence it and not get up? So I'm not even going to ask you to get up because I already know that's not realistic, and that's okay. That's okay. I want you to know that I'm going to meet you where you're at, and there is no shame in hitting the silence button on that Apple Watch. Instead of setting a timer to get up and move, I invite you to do this instead. I invite you to set a reminder directly on your screen of the computer or laptop that you're working on And that reminder will say every 20 minutes, it will blink and it will say, breathe. Okay. And now you're not going to just breathe. You're going to do a couple things. So I'm going to tell you that now. And I want you all to do it with me. Okay. So feet flat on the floor. Take a deep breath in. Raise your eyebrows up. A slow breath out. And now take the palm of your hand and just place it over your eyes. I know you can't see me anymore, and that's so sad, but it's okay. It's just going to be for about 30 seconds. Now, with your hand over your eyes, just feel the weight of your hands directly on your eyelids. Imagine if you'd just been working for 2 straight hours, and now your vision is occluded and you're getting a great little break from that screen. The pressure of your hands is just softening into your eye sockets, giving those muscles, those teeny tiny muscles of the eyes, a chance to take a break. And in this time, you're going to take a few more deep breaths in, slow breaths out, and you're going to sit all the way back in your chair. Oh, doesn't that feel so good? Okay, and that's it. So every 20 minutes, I want you to set a reminder on your screen that says breathe. And when you breathe, you're going to occlude your vision or cover your eyes with your hand. Make it dark. Take several deep breaths, let's say 10 deep breaths, and sit back on your seat. Okay. Doesn't that feel so much more doable than getting up and moving? Okay. The last thing I want to say is you should still get up. You should still move, but it should be functional. I'm an occupational therapist and I'm all about making things functional to the occupation in which you're engaging with. So do get up and move, but do it when you're going to do it anyway. And you probably do. And that's the thing that I'm saying about we've lost our external cues for when to get up. When you're at work, you get up to go to the water fountain, you get up to go to the bathroom, you get up to have a chat with your coworker. And now you're just in a dark room with your kids in the other room on their laptops, trying to cram it all in before lunchtime. So in that time, we do still get up. I think we do it with urgency because we've got stuff to do. So I want to give you things that you could do to make those movement breaks a little bit more realistic. And that's why I'm actually sitting by a door. So I'm going to show you a couple things now, and you're welcome to write them down, or if you want to even take a screenshot of me, you're welcome to do this. I know this recording is going to be available, so you can always recall this later. So I'm going to show you a few things you can do now. Not all movement breaks are created equally. So if you do nothing else, do the things I'm about to show you. And I'm wearing a brace that I was going to demonstrate, but I may not have time for that today. So maybe in a future talk, I can share some tools for posture. But today I want to show you this. So the first thing you're going to do is in your chair, and you're welcome to do this with me if you'd like. You're going to stand from your chair before you go to the bathroom, unless you really have to go, and then do it on your way back in. But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to stand with one foot up on the chair. Hold your knee and twist your body. Take a deep breath in. A slow breath out and sink down into your standing leg. It's really all about the breath here. It brings you back into your body. Then bring that leg down, opposite leg up, opposite hand to that knee, and twist away. So using that opposite hand to push yourself away. Deep breath in. Slow breath out, anchor down into your standing leg. Good. The second thing is a standing spinal stretch. So you're going to hold on to your elbows, drop your chin to your chest, and then vertebrae by vertebrae, lower yourself down. This is where you're going to feel what that seated position has been doing to your body. You'll feel it in your low back and in your neck. Now keep holding on to your elbows and using the weight of your arms to really start to traction through your shoulders and the back of your neck. Raise your eyebrows up and back down again. And then you can start to sway side to side, using your breath to break up superficial fascial adhesions down your spine. And then slowly come up vertebrae by vertebrae. During that, you can keep your knees slightly bent and your hips slightly bent so that you're not locking down in those areas. And then the last thing you're going to do, you can now get up and go key. And on your way back out, you're going to use the door jamb to open up through the pec minor here and then through the thoracic inlet in the front. I had mentioned with tech neck or computer related strain, our head leans forward and it starts to compress down on these nerves and blood vessels that run through this thoracic inlet here. So you're going to keep your elbow bent at 90 degrees and put your hand up against the door jamb at the threshold, and then slowly step away from the door. This is pretty intuitive. With the ankle of your arm, you're going to bring it down and feel what feels good. If that doesn't feel good, bring it up a little bit or bring it right about midline at 90 degrees. But give yourself permission to play with the angle of the arm and then lean forward. Take a deep breath in, raise your eyebrows up. A slow breath out and anchor your awareness down into your feet. Stay here as long as feels good. There's really no time limit unless you set one. And then you'll come to the other side and do the same thing on the other side of the door jamb. If you have a door with an opening on both ends, you could do both and just lean back and get a full fascial stretch at the same time. I will say the thing that most people get stuck with is that they have trouble letting go. And I know Sage is going to help with that next, and I'm really looking forward to that. But at the end of the day, if you're really struggling with being stuck in your head and trying to rush back to what you're doing, do this. Take a deep breath, raise your eyebrows up, and a slow breath out, and anchor your awareness down into your feet. That will bring you back to yourself over and over again so that you're not trying to jump to the next thing. Okay? So that's my share for today. Hopefully I'll get a chance to share some tools for proper posture when you are at your desk for a while in a future session. But if you have any questions for me or you need to reach out to me for any reason, you can connect with me at blueniletherapy.com. It's spelled Nyle, like my name. So blueniletherapy.com. You can request a consult and we can talk about this. I also do ergonomic assessments through telehealth, where I can assess your work situation. And then I'll give you a ton of tips for how to set up your environment at home. I just didn't want to focus on that today because I wanted to hit on things that I think people just don't talk about that are super needed right now. So that was my focus. But please do reach out to me if you need a little bit more guidance with your home setup. Thanks so much.
Nyle, I'm sure we have questions. This was so good. I have personal questions. Sorry, I'm just going to jump in and ask. So I just recently set up myself a standing desk. What do you think the alteration, and also I'm seriously considering putting the small treadmill to walk. Pros, cons, should we do a little bit of all of those? My wife seems to think that standing is not necessarily the best. I tend to think that for me, best to just keep going up and down all the time pretty frequently. But just wondering what your thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, as usual, your wife is right. I'm just kidding. So I do hear what about the standing desk a lot. And about 5 to 10 years ago, the standing desk came onto the scene and it was like the hottest thing. But it's not a one size fits all solution. It's really only addressing the thing that I said, which is that people get so into their work, they're disembodied. They're not in their body anymore. So all the standing desk is doing is reminding you that you have a body. And so, oh, you're going to stand up the desk now so that you can stand too. So yes, it's great that now you have another option other than sitting. However, you can still stand and stiffen up and do all the same postural alignment abnormalities that our bodies don't like, which is lean forward and scrunch our face. Those are the two common things I see people do: leaning forward and scrunching their face. And fascially, that locks everything down. So if you're going to use a standing desk, here's my advice: make it dynamic. When you stand, put some sort of stool or something down on the floor so that you can stand and do your typing and then shift your weight, shift your weight, shift your weight, so that, or a treadmill is great. I've never seen anybody work on a treadmill before, so please let me know how that goes.
I'll ask my friend who just did this to send me some photos or videos. But
yeah,
I'm quite impressed. We are competing on steps, and I can, now that he started doing it, I'm done. I used to be sort of first, and now he's like clocking up 20,000 steps per day during the meetings. So I can't keep up with this suddenly. So I have to buy one, but
I like it. Yeah.
I would add that I have both a standing desk and an elliptical under my desk. And those are wonderful tools, but I really appreciate what you said, Nyle, is that they're just tools, right? You still have to remember to move, and I have to remember to change from one to the other. Though I do find that standing is helpful because I get tired and I'll switch from leg to leg, and then I'll sit down and I'll stand up. And so I am getting movement, but you still have, ultimately it's about remembering to move.
Ultimately, it's about remembering to move, and the reason is because it brings you back into your body. And I saw a question of, are there any postural hacks to help with tech neck? There are, but if your body doesn't know what it feels like to properly recruit the right muscle groups, no amount of modifications are going to matter. At the end of the day, the most important thing, and I'm actually creating a program around this, it's a 8-week program to help people with therapeutic exercise and breaking down postural patterns, because we've forgotten what muscles we need to be recruiting to be functional, because we are, a modern society. And so our bodies are not equipped to sit for long periods of time. So we've lost access to core strength and latissimus dorsi. So the muscles that we need to be working on are latissimus dorsi in the back, right? Core strength in the front, and quads for lunging and strengthening. And we just don't have access to those anymore. So our go-to is this. It's to sit forward like this, right? And the smaller muscles are super unhappy, and the tissue has to get very thickened to compensate for that. So, strip it down to its most basic and really just go back to therapeutic exercise. What I tell my patients is every single morning before you sit down on the screen, do an embodiment practice. And I teach several, but some of my favorites that are most well known are yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong. So slow movement patterns that allow for the energy of the body and the physical body itself to be one. Okay. And then sit in front of your screen and see how different your interactions are. And honestly, I'm not really, like I said, I'm not as worried about people who have desk jobs as I am about therapists and doctors who are not used to this lifestyle. And they're having to interact with people on the other end and watch their behaviors and read their cues. So they are sitting way forward, and they can't ride an elliptical while they're doing that. So I want to teach them how to be more embodied and what that feels like, so that they can be in their body and meet the person on the other end of the screen who's also in their body. I hope that makes sense.
That was great. That was absolutely terrific. I think part of the agenda today was to review the change in CDC guidelines. There are questions there specifically for you, Nyle. Does the posture thing you had earlier help with tech? Does the posture thing you had on earlier help with the technique?
That was the question I was kind of trying to address. So it does, but not if you don't have the proper muscle strength to recruit. Okay, so this really just, it will put more pressure on the body. This is called a true WEO, and it's shaped like a figure 8, and you wear it like a backpack. And I do recommend this to my patients who have a lot of strain in the front here. We'll take the straps and pull them, and they pull your shoulders into shoulder retraction, pulling, kind of popping your chest out. It feels amazing. But if over time, if you don't have the body, you know, if the body is not also working with the device, you'll go back to default, and then you'll just end up putting more pressure on the already pressurized system. So it has to be both. There's never never a modification that can accommodate for what the body's not able to do. The body has to be functional for these things to work. I also have, I don't know if you've ever seen one of these on the ads. It's a little buzzer that sits on the back here. Has anyone ever seen these? And it buzzes to get you to sit upright. I got one because I wanted to try it to see if I wanted to recommend it to my patients, because it's the least invasive. And it's so interesting. So it just sits right back here, and you turn it on and it calibrates to you. And if you lean forward, it goes, and it just, I'll have it on and it'll be buzzing and buzzing and buzzing and buzzing because I can't get my body to do what it wants me to do because I'm focused on the person on the other end of the screen. And I'm like, I'm in a meeting, leave me alone, you know? So yeah, at the end of the day, these tools are really only one of several. It's always a holistic approach. So you can reach out to me for that also. I'm happy to work with you about developing some sort of program to release the tension in your body. That's what I specialize in, is chronic pain. Releasing that, teaching you how to strengthen and rebuild the body from a more posturally aligned place. So I think you need both. If you're going to go for this blunting, you need somebody who can also work with you body-wise.
This is great. So I'm very cognizant of time. I actually feel that what Nyle said was way more important than new CDC guidelines. Not to say they're not important, so let me run by everybody and Sage specifically. Sage, we're already in your time. I think I'd rather just have you start than reading the CDC guidelines. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to put the update into the chat. And so basically just in 30 seconds here. So there's significant changes in the masks wearing, into the travel, needing to get tests before and after, or not needing if you're vaccinated, not needing to get tested, not needing to quarantine yourself before or after the travel. So it's a pretty significant shift. I think what we should probably do, everybody can take a look at this and we can talk more about this next Friday, unless there's some really, really, really burning question. Maybe we can just take one. I hope not, because I really want to move on to a Sage who looks like a ninja in the park, getting ready for his ninja activities of walking us through an absolutely... Are you in Arboretum again?
Yes, that I am. I am in the Arboretum right now. And if anyone did have a question for the CDC guidelines, then by all means, go ahead and ask. Honestly, if it were up to me, I'd actually spend a couple more minutes with Niles asking some questions and perhaps answering, because I am also a massage therapist.
I would just say, I would just say she has to come back. That's all.
Yeah,
I think so.
You just have to.
Nyle, you have heard it. You have to come back.
Absolutely. I would love to. I really want to hear from Sage too.